Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the movie Christopher Robin, and I really enjoyed this movie. Now, it's kind of your typical kind of one, made in the vein of, like the movie Hook, where we see an older kind of literary character kind of thrown back into their world. Whereas with Hook, it was with Peter Pan and Neverland, this is with Christopher Robin and The 100-Acre Wood and the Pooh and Friends. Now, it kind of follows the same kind of boilerplate kind of family movie slash adult movie, where you'll get more out of it if you're an adult, but there's enough in there for kids to watch and everything without getting like completely scared or terrified or just having things just go over their head. So it starts off it starts off pretty much in the vein of like Up. It's Christopher Robin's last day in the 100-Acre Wood. His friends are throwing him a goodbye party, and he comes in with this basket and everything, and gives him cake and pretty much says goodbye to him. Him and Pooh go off to their usual kind of spot. Christopher Robin saying he won't forget him even if he lives to be 100. And Pooh's like, how old will I be then? 99, you silly old bear. And then he goes off because he's going to be going off to boarding school. We then see that the 100-Acre Wood and friends are kind of just left off to their own devices as we see an expedited kind of line through for Christopher Robin's life. We see him going off to school. We see him at first still kind of drawing Pooh and everything, but that of course getting taken out of him. We see that his father dies and he is said to be the man of the household now by people offering condolences. And we just see him kind of like working his way through and getting a job and everything and kind of forgetting about Pooh and his friends. But he then meets his wife and they get married and she's pregnant as he goes off to World War II. And he's fighting and everything and he comes back and he works at Winslow's Luggage in the efficiency department, where his job is, the job of his department is to cut costs. And it was kind of interesting seeing the office life. Not all the jokes landed, not because they were bad or anything, it was just kind of like timing. We see that the kind of director guy, the son of the head of the Winslow Luggage, kind of like smacked this suitcase, but it's still wet. They're still trying to figure out all the stuff to cut costs, and thus comes into the crux of the whole one of the conflicts throughout the film. Christopher Robin's given the task of cutting costs by 20%, and if he's got to fire people, he's got to fire people. And he's pretty much given this to go throughout the whole weekend. Now, he was supposed to go to his old house, kind of cottage out in the country, with his wife and his daughter. But he has to stay on the weekend and try and work through these figures. And granted, work is not the most important thing to Christopher Robin, but I think that something that should have been expounded on a little bit more was that he was trying to do these costs probably also to save as many people's jobs as possible. That wasn't really communicated to anyone during this whole time. It was kind of like, okay, I wish that had been communicated a little bit better, but it still wasn't that big of an issue because he comes home, he has a fight with his wife, and of course his daughter is disappointed because he's pretty much made his daughter a workaholic as well, doing all this work. He wants her to, she wants him to read her Treasure Island, but he starts reading this kind of thing about Victorian era. And Ewan McGregor does a great job as an older Christopher Robin because we first see him as the person who is so absorbed with his work that he's not really thinking about all the other stuff that he's got to do. And of course, Hallie Atwell, who played Peggy Carter in Captain America, does a great job as his wife, and so does the actress that plays his daughter. It feels like, yeah, there's a family here, and they want Christopher Robin, but he of course is absorbed in this important project, but he doesn't really say why it's so important. And also, one of his neighbors wants him to play gin rummy. I mean, it's cool that that these people want to interact with him. It's like, okay, you really like gin rummy. So, while this is going on, we had seen that his daughter had found an old picture of Winnie the Pooh, and then that, wow, he was a really good drawer back then. And while he's like moving around and everything, he'd accidentally spilled honey on it. We then cut to Winnie the Pooh in 100 Acre Wood, and he's like going around and he can't find any of his friends. And he eventually goes to the tree that Christopher Robin would come out and he's like, maybe Christopher Robin will help me find my friends and everything. And he comes out right near Christopher Robin's address at that point, and he's trying to work and everything. His wife and daughter have already gone up, and then he comes in trying to avoid the one dude who wants to play gin rummy, and he's like, oh, what a bother, and then that's where he pops up with Pooh, and it's a really cool kind of moment. They're kind of reintroducing themselves, and a thing that I have to really hand to him is they did a very good job with doing the CGI for the stuffed animals and the characters from the 100 Acre Wood. They really look like stuffed animals that have come alive, and how they interact with the world around them really works very well. It doesn't really break suspension of disbelief going throughout those. Yeah, that looks like a talking teddy bear. So, of course, Christopher Robin takes him inside and tries to learn what's going on. He's like, oh, and you need to help your friends? Well, I've got all this work to do, so, alright, here's the plan. We'll go up to my old house, I'll get you there, you can go in, you can find your friends, then I'll get back here and do my work. And it's funny because we see that he's given Pooh this honey, and he gets all kind of sticky and messy, and he creates a mess throughout the house. Him getting stuck on this carpet, you see Christopher Robin trying to clean everything up, and Pooh's just being sweet old Pooh, trying to figure out what's going on with Christopher Robin, how he said that he was wondering if he had thought about him, and he hasn't thought about him and the friends for a while, which is sad. This movie does a good job of showing why we need balance in our lives, not just with the work, but also with this overimportance of work and responsibility, and to the point where you forget other responsibilities. Work and responsibilities are important, but if that's all you have and you don't strive to be happy or do these things that make your life more fulfilling and more rich and worth living, it's just gloom and gray and just working until you die, and that's shit. That's shit. So, it was really cool with Pooh introducing that back into his life. So, he pretty much gets together, they go on up, they have some shenanigans trying to get there, Pooh getting a balloon and everything, and Christopher Robin was like, why do you need a balloon? Because it made me happy and everything. And seeing that the balloon survives the ride up there, and Pooh taking it with him, and Christopher Robin at first was just going to leave him to go, and he's like, fine, move over, I'm coming in to help you. And then they get into 100 Acre Wood. And this did a really good job of showing Christopher Robin's kind of like heart, mind, and soul at the point. Because when he was a child, it was bright, vibrant, and just full of imagination and everything. But when he's come back, it's all dark and gloomy and everything, and Pooh's afraid of the heffalumps and the woozles that are coming around and all that. And of course, as they're trying to go around and get their bearings and everything, even Christopher Robin giving him a compass that he had in the war, they start going around in circles and everything, and Christopher Robin gets angry and shouts and everything at Pooh, and then Pooh disappears. And of course, Christopher Robin's trying to run around to find him, and he starts hearing the heffalump sounds and gets trapped in the heffalump hole. And it's a really good exploration of the fact that heffalumps feed on happiness and everything, and you see that adults fit that kind of thing, fit that description, whereas Winslow's son, he's pretty much just going through, and we see later in the film that he wasn't working on the thing all weekend. He was just golfing and everything, so he was just sucking the happiness out of other people. I'm like, yeah, that's how some people do it. So, after Christopher Robin has pretty much almost been drowned in this hole, he wakes up and he is going around, and the woods are back to a brighter vibrancy. He's able to find Eeyore, and Eeyore almost steals the show. I mean, Pooh's the main focus, but Eeyore's got some lines in this thing that just frickin', he's like, oh yeah, Eeyore. He's like, oh no, it's a heffalump and it's coming to eat me, kind of thing, and he's like, oh no, the waterfall, and then he's just jumping in to save Eeyore, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm bigger now. He gets Eeyore. They go on their kind of quest to try and find the rest of the 100-Acre Wood gang, and they see Al's house has fallen down, and he's able to deduce that they thought a heffalump was around, and they ran off, and they find him in this log, and they're confused. They see Christopher Robin as a heffalump. He's like, no, fine, I'll prove to you I'm not a heffalump. And he takes Eeyore, and he makes it that he's fighting this heffalump. And while he's doing it, Eeyore finally sees and recognizes him as Christopher Robin, playing and having fun again. And that's really cool, because he starts making noises to help him as well, and the rest of them see him as Christopher Robin, and they're trying to figure out where would Pooh be. And they're able to find him at the place that they had said goodbye in his childhood. And Christopher Robin apologizes, saying that he was lost, and Pooh's like, well, I'm glad I found you then. And they do a hug, and that's all kind of cool and everything. And I'm like, okay, alright, I gotta go. These are my important papers, and of course, Tigger had tried to fix and put the important things in. But the thing is, he took out all these papers. So Christopher Robin tries to go out and is like, oh crap. And he pretty much tries to get out without his wife and daughter seeing him, but they see him and they're angry and everything. And he just goes on his way to London again. But as he's going, he starts doing stuff that Pooh was doing on the train ride, like saying what he was seeing. And it's like, yes, alright, he's still got it. So he's going back to make the presentation. Of course, his daughter has gotten angry and kind of messed up her room, and her mother comes in and just tells her to go outside and play. And the really kind of sad part is she's like, the mother's like, well, just come on back and you'd better be the filthiest you can be. She's like, how do I play? And having a kid ask you how to play, that's horrible. You've done something that should not be done. You need to balance that kid out and be like, you need to go out and play and just have fun, use your imagination, do whatever. Do the craziest kind of thing you can. So she goes out and she sees that Christopher Robin had tied off the balloon. And she starts using it and making pretend that she's at Wimbledon. That is, of course, when Pooh, Tigger, Eeyore, and Piglet have come out, and they're trying to get Christopher Robin's papers to him. And it's really cool seeing his daughter interact with them and all that, hearing Tigger do his Tigger song and everything, and she decides, alright, let's get this to my father. Maybe he won't send me away to boarding school and everything, and we'll be happy and everything. So she sets off on her quest to go to London. Of course, the mother sees the note and like, holy crap, but isn't able to get to her in time. And another thing that's really pretty great in this movie is the soundtrack. Hearing the different kind of things like the Winnie the Pooh theme and all the kind of stuff just works very well and doesn't take it over. Like, we see Christopher Robin when he was first meeting Pooh, he tucked him in the bed, and we hear the gentle playing of the Winnie the Pooh theme and everything. We get those bits and pieces going throughout here. So, they get to London, and they're trying to figure out their way to get there. They first take a cab, and while in the cab, Tigger starts trying to fight his reflection, but the cab driver starts freaking out, and smashes his car. This leads to one of the funniest bits in the film, because the daughter is able to get out. The owner of this police stand that the cab had crashed into is trying to figure out what's going on, kind of ticked off. We get a police officer coming in. The cab driver wants the daughter arrested, and because he doesn't know what's going on, the police officer, no, whatever. She's polite to the police officer and leaves to go into a Winslow luggage delivery truck. he, of course, then hears Pooh, and so does the paper dude, and he's like, you heard it too, didn't you? He's like, write that down, and they're all just like trying to figure out what the hell was going on. So at this point, the wife has gotten back, and Christopher Robin is trying to make his presentation, but sees that he's got all of these different kinds of things from 100 Acre Wood in there. And at this point, the Winslow son is trying to take pretty much at least half credit at this point for whatever Christopher Robin comes up with. But he's kind of saved when his wife comes in and tells him about their daughter missing. So the daughter gets to essentially the Winslow warehouse and then tries to make her way up to the headquarters, but she falls and the papers fly loose, but she is able to grab one paper. And of course that's when Christopher Robin and the mother find them, as well as the rest of the 100 Acre Wood people, because it was only Pooh and the daughter at that point. But of course his wife is seen and is now talking with Eeyore, and the rest of them are like, wow, oh my god. And Christopher Robin had been trying to explain it to her before, but when they had actually got onto their car and everything, she's like, okay, she thought he had a break, but now it's like, yeah, he's telling the truth. But they sit down, and she, of course, is feeling bad that she's lost the papers, but he's like, no, I'm just glad that you're safe and you're alright. He's like, you know what? You don't have to go to boarding school and everything. And his wife's like, hey, don't worry. Maybe it's just the way you have to look at it. And Pooh, of course, had said, sometimes a great something comes from nothing. And that, of course, sets off some sparks of ideas in Christopher Robin's head when he's looking at the paper that his daughter had saved. And then he's like, yes, thank you. He then goes in and makes this pitch because Winslow's son has pretty much been saying to the dude that we should, in order to cut costs, we should fire the whole efficiency department. That does track with directors and cutting costs, but it is one of the stupidest things ever. The whole objective of the department is to cut costs. If you decide, how about we cut these costs by getting rid of the people whose jobs is to look at and cut the costs? What happens when you need to cut costs later? It's like, no. It's just like, what? So Christopher Robin comes in and makes his pitch, and his pitch is, alright, this is who we usually sell to, the rich and everything. What if we flipped it up, widened our market, made it cheaper, and gave paid holidays to employees? So that way, we get something from nothing. Having them go out and, you're like, okay, go on holidays, go on vacations. And, of course, the owner of the company loves it. And, of course, they had Eeyore's tail at that point. That was pretty funny because it's like, oh, he thought it was a voodoo thing, gave it back, and put it back on Eeyore. Eeyore kind of gives the eye to the dude. He's like, that donkey was looking at me. That was a pretty good bit, but it's true. It's like, okay, what's going on? Your profits or your cash flow is out of whack. Okay, what are you doing? Are you serving a niche market that, what's going on? Because they keep trying to lower the quality of what's going on so that way they have higher profit margins. I'm like, okay, if you're doing a premium product, make sure you make premium materials, charge what you need to cover your costs, and make sure you have a fair profit. Well, if you can't do that with just serving a small market segment who would usually hang on to those longer, widen your market segment, like Christopher Robin explains, and make sure that employees have the time to have those vacations, and you're set. I'm like, yeah, there you go. So Christopher Robin has learned his lesson and everything, and they decide not to send their daughter away, and the kind of closing shots are Christopher Robin and his family having a picnic in the 100 Acre Wood with all of his friends and Pooh. It's like, yes, there can be a balance. You can be an adult and you can be a kid and you can have those married. If you don't have those married, your worldview is going to be skewed. You either have the naivete that you'll get suckered in by anything, or you'll just believe that there's nothing really valuable in life and just start taking from others or lashing out at others and just doing completely stupid things like taking, like, I don't know, firing your whole department that is supposed to be able to take out make sure that your costs are under control. And it was just really nice and heartfelt seeing Christopher Robin talking to Pooh, talking about the day, and just being more in a Christopher Robin get-up, sweater and everything, and just being more of himself. And we, of course, also get a little bit into the credits as well. So there is a mid-credit scene as we see all the people in the office building just having a vacation and being on the beach and just having a tune going and everything. And then we see the rest of the 100-Acre Wood there as well. Not the animals, but the stuffed ones. And it was just a very well done and heartfelt film. Now, granted, it's usually got the usual kind of stuff of showing the journey and everything. But I think what this does well is effectively use Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin in this setting. That's the thing that pushes this film and makes it worthwhile. If you're very into Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin, this will definitely be a movie for you to see, and definitely to take your kids to. If you're not into that kind of thing and not really into, it's more of a character and emotional kind of film. So if you're not really into that, this really isn't going to be for you. And it's more of a simple tale. I mean, it's not really that complex and that complicated. But it's done very well. So I would highly recommend seeing this movie if you're into character development and just lighthearted and very well done Winnie the Pooh stuff. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.